All right, for number 9, we are dividing these fractions. Again, I'm going to start out by factoring anything I can, and then we'll actually divide after we do that. So for my first one, I notice we have 6x plus 6. I can take a 6 out of both of those, so I have 6 times x plus 1. Remember, I did 6x divided by 6, I did 6 divided by 6, and my divided by 7 will stay. We want to divide that by, we have 4x plus 4, so what can I take out of both of those? It's going to be 4, so we have 4 times x plus 1. All divided by x minus 2 because I can't take anything out. Remember, this x minus 2 travels as a whole thing. I like to put parentheses around it. You can do that, or you don't have to. Totally up to you. Remember, when I am multiplying or dividing fractions, I'm going to flip the second one and then multiply. So we're still going to have 6 times x plus 1 divided by 7. And then we're going to flip this guy. So it's actually going to be x minus 2 divided by 4 times x plus 1. And we're multiplying these together, so again, if you want, make it one big fraction, because we multiply straight across. Notice we're going to cancel out anything we have on the top and the bottom. So I notice that there's an x plus 1 on top, and there's an x plus 1 on the bottom. Now if I factor those out, I'm left with 6 times x minus 2 divided by 4 times 7. Now I notice that we have this 6 and 4, so what can I divide both of those numbers by? It's going to be 2, so we'll divide by 2, we'll divide by 2. When I do that, I'm going to zoom out a little so I have some more space. When I do that, on top we would have 3 times x minus 2. On the bottom we would have 2 times 7. So really we'd have 3 times x minus 2 divided by 14. Oh, I wrote a 17, 14. And that would be our final answer. Again, factor everything first. You should always start there. And then you're going to flip your second fraction and then multiply. Let's do the second one. We have 10, which is x squared plus 10x plus 16 divided by x squared minus 6x minus 16. All of that is divided by x plus 8 divided by x squared minus 64. We're going to do the same thing. Factor everything and then flip your fractions. So if I look at the top part, we have x squared plus 10x plus 16. I'm going to do the x method for that one. We want something that multiplies to 16 and adds to 10. It's going to be 2 and 8. So that means the top of my fraction is going to be x plus 2 times x plus 8. And then for the bottom, we're also going to do the x method. This time I want something that adds to negative 16 and multiplies to negative 6. Or excuse me, multiplies to negative 16, adds to negative 6. So it's going to be negative 8 and a positive 2. So on the bottom we have x plus 2 times x minus 8. Again, we're still dividing, and then we want to simplify the second half. My x plus 8 is just going to stay on top. If you want, throw it in parentheses, that whole thing travels together. And then we're dividing by, and we have to simplify the bottom. If I notice I have my two terms, x squared and 64. I could take the square root of both of those, so I'm going to have a difference of squares. So again, one's going to have a plus, one's going to have a minus. The square root of my first term is x, so we have x for both. The square root of my second term is 8, so we have 8 for both. Now before you even flip anything, if there's something you can cancel out, you should do that. So I noticed in my first one, we have x plus 2 and x plus 2. My second one, we have x plus 8 and an x plus 8. Now remember, if that x plus 8 cancels on top, we're just left with a 1. So really right now I have x plus 8 divided by x minus 8. And all of that is divided by 1 over x minus 8. Now that we've simplified it, we're going to flip our second fraction and multiply. So if I flip my second fraction, I really have x plus 8 divided by x minus 8. Again, that first one just stays the same. And then times x minus 8 over 1. Now remember, if you're multiplying, it just is one big fraction. You multiply straight across. I see on top I have an x minus 8. I also have 1 on the bottom, so they're going to cancel. And all I'm left with is x plus 8 over 1. So my answer is just going to be x plus 8. Again, factor everything you can. If anything else cancels it out, flip your second fraction and multiply. And then cancel again.